February 2026 changes everything. Eclipse season begins with the first Aquarius eclipse. Saturn enters Aries for 2 years and meets up with Neptune for a once in 38 years conjunction. And if that wasn't enough, Mercury also goes retrograde. Lots to talk about. Let's dive in and break down the most important transits for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer working in whole sign house system in the tropical zodiac. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Watch more of my content. I have a lot of 2026 horoscopes, which could be fun to look at to prepare for the year to come. If you've been here a while and you like my work, show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell. Hype my video. That is a new method to promote the video in front of a larger audience as well. You can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, any other token of appreciation. Thank you so much for that. Before we dive in, if you're looking for personal advice, few days left to take advantage of my year ahead promo and save $20 with the coupon code 2026 on the year ahead reading. You can also get a recorded reading in the print shop or candle shop and save $40 on that, and that ends on January 31st. On my website, you can register for my upcoming predictive astrology course. It begins in March, and it will teach you how to use transits, annual perfections, solar returns to forecast your future, to be more of a main character, to know how to maximize opportunities, to learn how to surf the waves of astrology and time so that you don't make mistakes and you actually live life full of meaning, success, and purpose. That begins in March. Sign up on my website. On there, you can also pick up my creations, such as my 2026 planner. It is full of insights about astrology, helping you learn. There are breakdowns of every month, calendar, spaces to write your to-do list, set your intentions. Every lunation has its own page breaking down what's going on, having ritual suggestions, and so much more. On my website, you can also pick up my candles. This is my newest creation, Venus Cazimi 3. It's a very, very small batch, and this one captures Venus and Capricorn conjunct the sun. Wonderful for love, for manifesting relationships, for bringing ease to relationships, for improving partnerships and collaborations. It can boost your inspiration. It can bring more success and inspire creativity. Highly recommend this, and these are halfway through. I already sold half of them because it's a very small batch, so get yours while they last. Highly recommend this for any Capricorn or Cancer rising, Virgo, Taurus rising as well. If your Venus is in Virgo, Aries, or Scorpio, if your Venus natally is retrograde, or if it's placed in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses. Additionally, if your Venus conjoins Pluto or Saturn, that could be tricky. So February is big. Like I said, eclipse season begins. Saturn enters Aries, conjoins Neptune. We have it once every 38 years. Mercury goes retrograde. So much is going on. So the way, we're going to take a look at the most important transits chronologically. If you want a personal breakdown of every single month, you can become my subscriber on my website. And through that, you can either get monthly readings with me in person, face-to-face, 30 minutes each month, or you can get written horoscopes sent to you. That is sort of the most personalized way to work with me. And this way it will be specific to your chart versus more general reading, which is what these are. So we'll take a look at the month chronologically. Take out your notepads, write down what's coming up so that you're prepared. We start the month with a full moon in 13 degrees Leo on Sunday, February 1st. The full moon completes the chapter started in July 2025, July 24, 2025, and encourages you to connect with your heart and to express your uniqueness and to step into the spotlight, to be a little bit self-driven at this time, because we are in Aquarius season. A lot is going on in Aquarius. There's strong focus on politics and the world at large and community. And so this full moon is like, go celebrate you, do your hair, sing a song, do karaoke, right? Like do something fun for yourself and like celebrate how far you've come. On the 3rd of February, Uranus stations direct, and I can tell you at what degree. Stations direct at 27 degrees 27 minutes Taurus, and thus begins to exit Taurus for good. On the 25th of April, it will leave Taurus. So if you have planets between 27 and 29 degrees fixed signs, Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, you're in for the final aspects from Uranus, and then we'll be done. Uranus going direct is also a sign of you having an easier time expressing your originality instead of being a little bit stuck and unsure of how to differentiate yourself from the crowd or how to be true to yourself. You feel more able to do it now that Uranus is direct. Mercury will square Uranus on February 5th. This could feel like breakdowns and breakthroughs in communication. Watch out for conflicts, misunderstandings. Watch out for technological breakdowns, like have extra batteries, extra light bulbs, because it's like a mini Mercury retrograde. On the positive, it could bring intellectual breakthroughs, insights in writing, imaginative work, new sort of like inventions, potentially anything, you know, where you're doing things differently and you're like realizing something exciting. On February 6th, Mercury enters Pisces, where it will stay for a long time, 2 months, due to its upcoming retrograde. Mercury normally zips through the sign in 2 weeks or so. This time around, it's going to stay in Pisces for a while, which is a bit tricky. Mercury is in its fall and detriment in Pisces. Pisces is the land of dreams and ideals, and the factual Mercury struggles in Pisces, not because, you know, people with this placement are not like smart or anything. It's not true. Some of the smartest people have this placement, but because it's harder to differentiate the dreams and fantasies from reality. So a good transit for writing, for imaginative work, for creative work. A more challenging transit for being clear in your speech. You may notice that you're taking your dreams and believing that they're real, while in reality, maybe you're just building sandcastles out of nothing. You're maybe more impressionable, maybe easily overwhelmed. You might forget sort of regular life things like paying the bills, doing the laundry, sending a text message to someone who expects you to text them back. And of course, as Mercury goes retrograde from February 26 until March 20, this will get even stronger, even messier, even more confusing. So highly recommend for this period, it's actually right there, my Mercury Cazimi, Mercury in Virgo, or Mercury in Gemini candles. I will be lighting mine up nonstop because I find that it really helps focus me during the retrograde. So get yours on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. February 8th, Venus squares Uranus. So this will test your relationships. It will shake it up and reveal what is not working. So Venus square Uranus can be a break in a relationship if somebody's stifling you, if you're not supported enough, or if your freedom gets restricted, or it could be an opportunity to break through and do things differently, right? Like you realize that maybe you need to live separately, or you need to work separately, or there is some kind of opportunity to create more freedom. Even experimentation in the bedroom, sudden realizations around like love and sexuality can be eye-opening and important. And if you're single, maybe it's about just your desires and your sense of like what you find attractive. February 10th, Venus enters Pisces to stay until March 6th. This is beautiful. Venus is exalted in Pisces, so it could be good for those dreams and those ideals they might actually be reasonable and realistic. We are more compassionate, we are dreamy, we are sensitive and spiritual and sensual. So it could be like a very forgiving and inspired and romantic period for a few weeks here, which should be supportive amidst all of the chaos that otherwise is February is full of. On the 13th of February, Saturn enters Aries to stay until April 2028, beginning the 2 years of Saturn in Aries. We've had a preview of this between May 25th and September 1st, 2025. Reflect on that. Saturn in Aries is a fresh energy. It's about new beginnings. It's about asserting yourself and taking action, taking risks. It's about figuring out a balance between taking on too much and not taking anything at all out of fear, because when Saturn is in a sign of its fall in Aries, sometimes Saturnian caution can restrict Aries exuberance, and the fear might be too strong. And so you may be dealing with like bullies and life, and everything feels difficult and you just retreat back, versus at other times Aries can overpower Saturn and the urgency to do things right now and to achieve things yesterday and to do everything can be too strong, and then you will just be swinging between inaction and too much action, right? So the next 2 years will be really big for that. It's about like, how do you express your spirit, your courage, that is very much Aries, important for Aries, but do so in a balanced and productive way. And the two conjoin shortly after on the 20th of the month. So that is major once in 38 years transit. It's been building up. It's been building up all throughout 2025, and it will take another 6 months at least for it to fade away. But they conjoin on the 20th of February. Basically the whole time, like from February 13th, another like 3 weeks after the 20th, you can consider them conjunct. And the last time this happened would have been in late 80s when the Berlin Wall fell down, when the USSR got dissolved. So two ways this can manifest. Number one is bubbles bursting and certain ideals, people, situations, jobs feeling no longer aligned with who you are at your core. Because Aries is very much like, I am, here I am, this is who I am. It's about self-assertion. So you're dealing with separating from something, dreams being broken and burst by the pinch of Neptune, by the pinch of Saturn actually, needle poking at your fantasies. And at the same time, there might also be like new goals that Saturn will encourage you to get organized about. So I would say this is like the undertone of the entire month of February that we are in the midst of. On the 16th, the Sun will square Uranus, so more shakeups, breakthroughs, opportunities to innovate, opportunities to be open-minded, maybe someone challenging your sense of self. But if you're flexible and if you're open to change, you may discover that you are a different person now. Mercury trines Jupiter on the 16th, and that could be supportive for, it can bring good news, it can bring opportunities involving communication, writing, studying, teaching, travel. It's a good time to make plans. It's a good time to deal with others, sign contracts, negotiate. So if we're talking about Mercury being challenged in Pisces, we do have this February 16th Mercury trining Jupiter. We also have February 28th after Mercury already goes retrograde, as Mercury conjoins Venus. So there's some support amidst the chaos. On the 17th of February, 7 in the morning Eastern time, we get our first eclipse of 2026, and the first eclipse in Aquarius since 2018, I want to say, but the last time we've had the same cycle of South Node eclipses in Leo and North Node eclipses in Aquarius would have been in 2008, 2009. So you can reflect on that. I would recommend doing that more so than looking at like 9 years ago. But But this is an out of sign eclipse. The North Node is still in Pisces, but it's a preview of what's going to come. And so here we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius. Yeah, it's the first eclipse in Aquarius since 2018. But like I said, 2008, 2009 would have been the exact same cycle. 2018, these two zodiac signs, but the nodes would have been flipped. So the eclipse squares Uranus, and it brings shakeups and tensions and opportunities to focus on the collective, and as well as opportunities to connect with your true self and disengage from worrying what people think. We're kind of, we're thinking about being authentic and truthful. We're disengaging from like the need to people please and to wear a mask and to be maybe even too cautious and too stuck in the old ways of doing things. So depending on which house it's activating in your chart, there will be opportunities to like innovate and start something major. And we'll break it for each sign and you'll learn more about it. But also if you want to know like, oh, I have a planet at 28 degrees and the eclipse is at 28:56, we can talk about it during the reading. February 18th, the sun enters Pisces until March 20th. It encourages us to dream, to feel, to imagine, to be more spiritual and sensitive, and to explore new pursuits that are connected to what we find wise and meaningful and important. And Pisces season, Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, they're all ruled by the exalted Jupiter. So we do have the support of Jupiter and Venus throughout February, even though the month feels dramatic otherwise. Saturn conjoins Neptune on the 20th, as mentioned. Venus trines Jupiter on the 22nd. This is very, very nice. Mucho nice. For relationships, for partnerships, for going on dates, for connecting with others, for building alliances and networks, for even making investments and purchases and updating your style. Just overall, Venus and Pisces wants to create a dreamy, soulful union, and Jupiter offers opportunities. Jupiter offers upliftment and hopefulness. So there might be gifts, compliments, rewards, and give it 3 days on each side. So it's 22nd, but really between 19th and 25th. On the 26th, Mercury goes retrograde, will be so until March 20th. Moving back from 22 into 8 degrees Pisces. So it will affect you the most if you have planets between 8 and 22. Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini. Don't take your ex back. Don't rush to make decisions. Don't rush to cut people off. Take it slow, take it easy, take a moment to rest, because that's what Pisces, Mercury retrograde might be about. Read a book. Don't force things. But get my Mercury in Virgo candle, because it could be a perfect remedy. Or Mercury Kazemi or Mercury in Gemini. I still have some of those. On the 27th of February, Mars will square Uranus. This can be disruptive. Again, breakdowns, breakthroughs in terms of your actions. Watch out for acting too rashly. Watch out for getting in fights. Watch out for careless accidents around this time, 4 days before, 4 days after. Maybe there is an opportunity to change your approach to things and to slow down again, right? It will be hard to slow down completely, but look for ways to sort of, instead of taking like risks and going skydiving around this time, maybe look for ways to do something fun like dancing, or do something that's more safe maybe. And then February 28th, Venus conjoins Mercury. Rather, Mercury conjoins Venus. Beautiful speech, charm, compliments, announcements of love, messages getting delivered, inspiration, great for writing, beautiful, magical transit. So this is it as far as the main events of the month. As you can tell, it is the month that changes everything because of that newest Aquarius eclipse being ruled by the Saturn Neptune conjunction. So it's like new ideals for the world, right? As Saturn and Neptune makes us realize what's not working, there may be a sense of new beginnings that are collectively appearing, but also personally appearing. Or as Saturn and Neptune brings up new aspirations as well. So it's fun. For personal advice, visit my website, book a reading, register for my course. It begins in March. You will learn how to predict. You will learn how to speak the language of astrology. If you've been watching these videos and you keep coming back and you keep trying to understand yourself, and like, if you're the person who's always seeking to improve yourself, this is the course to take, and astrology can only make your life better. There's no side effects really to knowing what's coming up, unless you're obsessing about it and you're like making it control your life. Then maybe you should be careful, but I think astrology is a powerful supportive tool. So if you are an Aries rising, January brought a lot of attention to your houses of career with Capricorn season, and to your houses of networking with Aquarius season. You maybe explored new professional ideas, maybe looked for a new job, maybe connected with people in your network and looked for support professionally as well. We had a full moon in your 4th house of home, family, and property. Did you move? Did you experience any changes in the life of your parents and family? And then on the 26th of January, Neptune entered Aries to stay for 13 years and to inspire you to act in line with your ideals. So February opens up with a full moon in Leo in your 5th house on February 1st. It completes the chapter in romance, pleasure, creativity, and parenthood that began in July 24th, 2025, with a new moon in Leo. And it offers you a chance to connect with your heart. So a lot is going on all month in your 11th house, and you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about your network, you're thinking about your dreams, you're maybe hanging out with other people. And the full moon right up front in the month is this invitation to just have fun, to be playful and to be joyful, and to allow yourself to go on a date or express your inner child. Maybe you're finishing up some kind of creative project, or you're having a good time in your relationship. There might be opportunities to move a romantic connection to the next level, from just casual to more serious. You may find out that you're pregnant for some of you and realize that your life will need to be balanced between social aspirations and your personal life. Yeah, finishing a creative project, also just like having a good time, going dancing, celebrating yourself and appreciating yourself for all that you are is quite likely here, but also changes in that area. Uranus goes direct in your 2nd house of money on February 3rd and begins to leave, finally exiting Taurus on April 25th. So if there has been a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty related to finances, expect it to begin to lift, especially past April 25th. But it can also bring more clarity about using your gifts and your talents and your interests, even your uniqueness and originality and technology, AI, all of these sort of things to make money. So Neptune entered Aries on January 26th. On the 13th of February, Saturn will enter Aries, your 1st house of identity, for 2 whole years. Saturn has given you a preview of this between May 25th and September 1st. What was happening in your life? Did you feel more body conscious? Did you feel busier? Did you deal with any health concerns? Did you discover new passions and new dreams? Saturn here will be together with Neptune. The two conjoin on the 20th, and 2 ways are quite likely this will show up. Number 1, a certain disillusionment, a realization that the old way of being, old things you're doing, do not serve you anymore. Maybe you realize that working for like a corporate job doesn't make you happy, that you don't have a good work-life balance, that you want something that is more spiritual and more fulfilling. So a certain disillusionment, but with it as well a new dream, a new purpose for yourself, and you'll have to define it. And please let me know if you have clarity on what this might be bringing up. But Aries is courageous. Aries is physical. Aries is entrepreneurial, right? So a business, a new body, a fitness pursuit. There's a lot of possibilities what this could be initiating for you. And as this is happening, as this is sort of like the background of the entire month, right? And the last time this happened, if you were conscious, if you were online back then, the last time this happened would have been in late 80s, early 90s. We've had the fall of the Berlin Wall. We've had the dissolution of USSR. So both washing away of boundaries, but also dissolution of things, right? Like on one hand, dissolving and sort of breaking boundaries. On the other hand, maybe some disappointment that came from that for like people who wanted USSR to continue. And for others, with like the fall of the Berlin Wall, a lot of freedom and a lot of opportunity. So as these two are coming together, in February, up until, well, all throughout February, we have a lot of planets in Aquarius, your 11th house. So as this new purpose is forming and crystallizing, you may know what it is. You may not know yet. You may need a little bit longer to figure it out. But as it's building up, maybe at first really confusing, then later becoming more clear, right? We also have your sense of social purpose growing stronger and stronger. You're meeting new people with all this action in your 11th house of Aquarius. You're finding pursuits that resonate with you. You're volunteering. You're speaking at the rallies. You're going to meetings. You're aligning yourself with people who are like-minded. On February 17th, we get the solar eclipse here. The start of a 2-year cycle, which will fully 100% begin on July 26th, but this is like a little sneak peek of what's to come. The last time we've had the same exact cycle with North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo would have been in 2008, 2009. What was that like? Reflect on that period of your life. But this is very much like, how can you use your voice? How can you use your power to make the world a better place, right? Eclipse in Aquarius, new pursuits, new dreams, new associations, new ideals, and you are in the midst of it. You are the one who can make a change and make a difference. So you'll get, like, yeah, notice what's happening in your friendships. Notice what kind of lessons and messages are registering within you around this time. Notice what's happening in the world and how you can get more involved. Finally, from about February 6th, we're going to start also having a lot of planets in your 12th house in Pisces. And this might direct you towards spirituality and introspection. Could be a good time for therapy and healing. Venus is here between the 10th of February and March 6th. And you're maybe dating someone, but doing so privately, or you're getting away with your significant other. You're very much like trying to balance the new beginnings with also some like cleansing and calming and closing some chapters, because before things begin, you also need to release. Mercury will be retrograde between February 26th and March 20th in your 12th house, offering you opportunities to examine how you might be standing in your way, release your self-defeating tendencies and bad habits, and maybe even reconnect with old ideals and aspirations. For more, visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Get a reading. Year ahead is discounted only until January 31st. Information is down below. And register for my predictive astrology course. It could be perfect for all of these 12th house, 1st house, 11th house transits. If you are a Taurus rising, January brought a lot of attention to Capricorn and Aquarius houses of your chart. You may be studied or traveled or explored new belief systems, new ideals. I have a Taurus rising client. He's considering going to summer school to study Russian language. And then there could have also been a lot of questioning of your role in the world based on the knowledge you've been acquiring and opportunities to like travel or get more clear on what you believe, that maybe opened up new professional opportunities. We had a full moon in Cancer, your third house, suggesting change in communication, completion of writing projects, maybe even some exams that you took and some courses of study you had to wrap up. And on the 26th of January, Neptune entered Aries to stay for 13 years and to encourage escapes and spiritual introspection and healing work and direct you more towards self-development and spiritual awakening. February opens up with a full moon in Leo on the 1st of the month. It happens in your 4th house and 13 degrees Leo. And it completes the chapters in the home, family, real estate that got started in July 2025, especially around July 24th, 2025, when we had a new moon in Leo. So that would have been the beginning. This is now the ending. And it suggests that even though there's a lot of focus right now on like what the future holds and who you want to be, you need to make sure that your home feels secure and that you have like a lot of joy from being at home, right? So there may be opportunities around this time to sell or buy a property, to redesign, redecorate, even welcome new family member into your life, or maybe connect with family on some level. But I think ultimately this is just an invitation that don't forget your foundations and make sure that you're feeling at ease in your home and happy in your home. And maybe it's like a great time to sort of throw some kind of party and have people come over and shine and dress up while you're back home. On the 3rd of the month, Uranus goes direct in Taurus, your 1st house, and on the 25th of April, it will completely leave Taurus, completing a 7-year revolution and reinvention cycle you have been in. So if you've been feeling a little stuck and unsure what to do, how to express yourself, how to be unique, inventive, and original, this will be an opportunity to do that. Uranus going direct is bound to bring more clarity and more opportunities to sort of end the old, welcome the new, whatever you might be working on. On the 13th of February, our greatest change that transforms the whole year, I'd say, is Saturn entering Aries, your 12th house, for 2 years. We've had a preview of this between May 25th and September 1st last year. What was that like? Saturn will also conjoin Neptune on the 20th of the month, and the way this shows up is either a sense of dissatisfaction with where you are and how things are going, and maybe an opportunity to mourn the loss of something, right? It could even be as like, I don't know, as simple as a realization that you're entering your 30s and now you need to be all responsible, and maybe you just got married, and so maybe there is some melancholy that's connected to it. Or it could be just the sense of like, maybe you don't like what you do for a living anymore. And bubbles might burst. Saturn-Neptune transit is very much like, you know, certain illusions might fade away and you may realize that, hey, this doesn't fit who I am anymore. At the same time, Saturn-Neptune can also direct you towards pursuits that take you to foreign lands, that involve spirituality, yoga, teaching, astrology, Reiki, healing, all of those things. And, you know, if you're interested in studying astrology, join my course. It begins in March and it's dedicated to predicting with transits and annual perfections and solar returns. So the knowledge nobody will take away from you and help you be in charge of your life, avoid making mistakes. So directing you towards this like spiritual life, and maybe moving, maybe you're actually selling your home and getting ready to have more freedom in your 12th house to like sort of go out there and connect with your spiritual self and meet your spiritual brothers and sisters. As this is going on, we get an eclipse in Aquarius. So Aquarius is highlighted all month. It's your 10th house of career, status, reputation, public life, and you're maybe being more visible, maybe your work is busy, you're shining, you're working with others, you're connecting with others. And we get this solar eclipse, and the solar eclipse on the 17th of February is ruled by the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in your 12th house. So it's a new beginning. It's a conception of a cycle that will fully start in late July when North Node will shift into Aquarius. For now, it's still in Pisces. And it's sort of like it's a shift professionally. I think professionally or like publicly if you no longer work, let's say you're retired. So there may be a sense that you are, because you're feeling the strong pull to do spiritual and healing work, to do astrology, Reiki, tarot, you're having to examine your work life and you're having to make changes. Maybe you're having to change your schedule and start working from home more, or you're shifting to working part-time, or you're quitting your job altogether, or you're asking for new opportunities, right? The Saturn and Neptune in Aries in the 12th house is also quite good for working with people in like liminal situations. 12th house is very similar to the 6th house, but in 6th house we're dealing with physical ailments, and with the 12th house we're dealing with mental health ailments. So traditionally it's been a house of hospitals, prisons, mental asylums. So maybe you're a therapist and you're changing your career to work with people in prisons, or you're working with people in mental institutions. So it's like it's a very socially aware eclipse, very powerful too. Throughout the month, starting on February 6th, Mercury and then Venus on the 10th and then the Sun on the 18th will begin to enter Pisces, your 11th house, stimulating your social life, encouraging you to connect with others, go out more. Mercury will be retrograde here between the 26th of February and March 20th. Suggesting a need to revisit some friendships. You're maybe going to have some important conversations, address some conflicts and things that are being unsaid. You're maybe going to reconnect with some of your old friends and hear back from people you haven't seen in a while. It is also a really lovely opportunity to look back maybe at old dreams and pursuits and realize what you want to bring back, as well as like old networks. Let's say you are figuring out how to change your work, right? Change your work life. Maybe the retrograde in the 11th house is a chance to reconnect with someone you know who can get you there. So you're sort of shuffling through and clearing up your friendships and your social relationships. If you're seeking more, visit my website. I highly recommend my Venus Cazimi 3 candle. Only a few of these left. It was a small, tiny batch, candles only, created on January 5th. Perfect for any Venusian person. Can bring ease, charm, new love, harmony in an existing relationship, and creative inspiration into your life. On my website, you can also register for my course or book a reading. The year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Information is down below. For the beautiful Gemini rising, January brought a lot of attention to your 8th and 9th houses during Capricorn and Aquarius season. You maybe paid off debts, dealt with insurance matters, handled inheritance, dealt with any sort of financial scholarship applications, even relating with other people and working with other people to create something coherent. I have a Gemini rising friend. She's been working with a life coach. I have another Gemini rising friend who has been dealing with a little bit of like an insurance frustrating matter. So share if that is you. And then Aquarius season perhaps encouraged exploration and growth through knowledge, travel, and legal matters. The full moon in Cancer highlighted your financial investments and financial dealings as well early in January. And then we had Neptune entering Aries in late January, encouraging new dreams and aspirations in regards to your friendships, networks, and social role. February starts off with a full moon in Leo on the first of the month in your third house. This suggests changes around writing, completing writing projects, exams that you need to take, communication, maybe having to convey an important message and stand up for yourself with siblings or neighbors. Take a look back at July 24th, 2025, when we had the new moon in Leo, because this is a completion of the same cycle that got started back then. It encourages you to roar. It's the new moon in the house of communication. And so even though there is such heavy focus on Aquarius all month and being objective and rational and detached and social, this full moon at the start of the month is like, yeah, but what is at your heart? What makes you happy? What do you believe in, right? So opportunities to speak up, to address situations, to maybe work on a creative project or invest in your skills, your knowledge, your business are all activated by this full moon. Uranus goes direct in Taurus on the 3rd of February, bringing more clarity and opportunities to let go of self-defeating tendencies, to close some chapters. Uranus is going to leave Taurus for good on April 25th. And it's been there since 2018. So if you've been feeling stagnant or you've been dealing with more unpredictable things, surprises, disruptions, even past that demanded healing or sudden losses, right? Uranus turning direct and getting to leave your 12th house is a sign of more empowerment, because where is it going? Into Gemini. So fun. On the 13th of February, Saturn enters Aries, joining Neptune for 2 years. The two conjoin once in 38 years. This happens on the 20th of February. We've already had this preview of this conjunction all throughout 2025. So it's not like a brand new energy, but the two come together on the 20th, and this colors the entire month. And they come together in your 11th house. Saturn has last been here between 96, 99. What was happening in your social life? What was happening with your friendships? What was happening in your dreams? The two have the power to burst some bubbles and bring a little bit of disappointment and disillusionment. You may start looking at some of your friends through a different lens and realize that they're not as reliable, as trustworthy, as supportive of you, and there might be certain melancholy and sadness. You may be isolated from your friends and having to build new relationships if you moved recently. Simultaneously, as Saturn will increase your social responsibility. You've been dealing with Saturn in the 10th house and all of the career worries and woes and concerns, and now it's in your 11th house, and now the question becomes, well, but why are we here? What can I do? What can we do to make the world a better place? And for some, maybe you're going to be sharing like cooking recipes and making the world a better place through bringing your knowledge and your new deliciousness into the world. But for others, maybe there is some type of like advocating for elderly or women or children or single moms, right? There may be like this sort of sense of newfound purpose and newfound connections as well, and being more in charge of who you are and who you belong with. It might feel a little heavy, right? Saturn tends to be heavy. But at the same time, it's like, whatever you'll be working on in the next couple of years, I think will be for a good reason. And if you are dealing with any friendship challenges, know that it's for good, and whoever gets cleared out of your life, Saturn is actually protecting you from negative influences. As the Saturn and Neptune come together on the 20th, right? And this is building all the way from the 13th and even earlier than that. But let's say it's building from the 13th and then lasts into March. We also have the first eclipse of the year. Hello, eclipse season on the 17th of February in Aquarius, your 9th house. And the ruler of that eclipse is Saturn together with Neptune in your 11th house. So new dreams that involve education, studying or teaching, that involve travel, that involve writing and publishing your work, that involve legal matters. Maybe the Saturn Neptune in your 11th makes you aware of some issue in education that is not acknowledged, or even like AI issues or some other legislative type of problem, and so you decide to investigate and dedicate your time and attention to it. Maybe you decide to write about it. Maybe you're feeling like your knowledge can empower the youths of of the world right now. So some type of like new beginnings this eclipse heralds. It's a preview of the next cycle of eclipses, which officially begins in late July when North Node ingresses into Aquarius, South Node into Leo. And it's a repeat of the eclipse cycle from 2008-2009. So what was happening in your life when it comes to education, travel, writing, publishing, legal matters, beliefs, ideals, teachers, because all of that is likely going to shift. And do share. If this is resonating, if you're remembering things, share. It will be super helpful. And to make things even more fun, we also have Mercury going retrograde between February 26th and March 20th in your 10th house of career. So your 10th house of career is pretty active all month. Saturn is there until the 13th. Mercury, Venus, the Sun are there from the 6th of February onwards. And so you're maybe conquering new professional heights. You're maybe networking, being more visible. But then as Mercury goes retrograde between February 26th and March 20th, things slow down. You have to deal with more miscommunications. You have to maybe recalibrate, rebrand, rethink, redo, rewrite, right? So take it slow and be ready to address the usual retrograde fun. And don't fear the retrograde. It's never worth fearing. For more, visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Get a personal reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Info in the description. Sign up for my predictive course. Take control of your life and maximize opportunities that astrology offers. And pick up my beautiful offerings. Venus Cazimi 3 planner. Look how pretty they look together. If you are a Cancer rising, January brought a lot of relationship action potentially with Capricorn season. Maybe you started dating someone, maybe you got engaged or even got married. Maybe you've joined a business partnership later in the month as Venus, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars all ingressed Aquarius, your 8th house, offering you opportunities to negotiate, sign contracts, agreements, pay off debts, deal with insurance matters, maybe address some unfairness in your professional or personal life. Hopefully not a lot of power struggles around money, even though there is a danger of that. You may have also dealt with a change in your health or your sense of self early in the month as we had the full moon in your sign. And on the 26th of January, Neptune entered Aries, heralding a new 13-year cycle in your professional life. An opportunity to become a hero and become a spiritual guide. In February, we start off with the full moon in Leo, your 2nd house, on the 1st of the month. And this completes the chapter started with the new moon in Leo in late July 2025. So maybe you took out a loan and now you're paying it off. Maybe you started a job and were promised a promotion and now you finally get that promotion. Opportunities to make, spend, increase your earnings, invest in something, explore, even not just money, right? With the 2nd house, we're also talking about values and priorities. And with the month being so heavily Saturnian, with Aquarius season, with Saturn, Neptune conjunction, a lot is going on that involves Saturn. The full moon on the 1st of the month is very much like your opportunity to focus on you and to figure out what you want, to maybe even talk to your boss and speak about what you're seeking and what you deserve, and even maybe set some money aside for some type of rainy day. Yeah, you may be also even getting a payment for something you've been waiting for, or bonus around that time, especially if you've been waiting since July 2025. On the 3rd of the month, Uranus goes direct in Taurus, your 11th house. And then on the 25th, it's going to exit and leave Taurus for good. Uranus has been here since 2018, shaking up your friendships, your social relationships, encouraging maybe new dreams. Uranus going direct is bound to bring more clarity about who is your true ally and who is not, what pursuits are worth exploring and which ones are not, and can also make it easier for you to stand apart and to maybe express your originality and do work that helps people and maybe connect with those who feel as unique and original as you are. On the 13th of the month, the biggest change of possibly the entire year is Saturn entering Aries, your 10th house, to join Neptune and to actually conjoin Neptune on the 20th of the month. This is a rare transit. This is a once in 38 years transit. The last time it happened would have been in late 80s, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the dissolution of USSR. It has both a chance to wash away the boundaries, Neptune, ocean, washing away the wall of Saturn, as well it has the possibility to intensify some of the dreams and get really serious about capturing the ocean of the dreams and getting it more serious and secure. So if you remember what was happening in late 80s in your life, reflect on that. The last time Saturn was in Aries would have been between 96 and 99. So reflect on that as well if you were an adult or if you remember what was happening in your life. This transit highlights your 10th house of career. And if we're thinking of washing away some unhealthy, outdated, difficult relationships, patterns, jobs, it's very much possible. It's possible that you'll realize that there might be a sense of disillusionment and a sense of like what you do doesn't fulfill you anymore, and you maybe would like to do something different with your life. So opportunities to disengage from something toxic, and then maybe a new inspiration. With Aries, we're thinking about being entrepreneurial, being a solo practitioner, being a business owner, being a risk taker. We're also thinking of like physical body and athleticism, and so maybe becoming a fitness trainer is something that you'll be exploring, or just even like making a career out of all you know about health, right? Sharing on social media. It's interesting because that definitely brings a new period, and the two conjoin at 0 degrees, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's almost like you are releasing all of the past baggage and all of the notions of yourself and welcoming a brand new version of you. Welcoming it into existence. As this is happening, we get the first eclipse of the year ruled by Saturn conjunct Neptune. And this is February 17th, and the eclipse is happening in 20 degrees 56 minutes Aquarius. We will fully get into the Aquarius eclipse cycle in late July when North Node ingresses into Aquarius. And this highlights your 8th house. And in the 8th house, we're looking at new partnerships that you can start to get you towards this new professional dream. And we're looking at freedom that you might be looking for from unhealthy partnerships. So the solar eclipse in Aquarius may reveal the debts you need to pay off, the financial investments you need to make, the maybe even certain negotiations around custody payments or other debts and insurance and inheritance. And so there might be these like opportunities to figure out which relationships are worth pursuing and which people you can truly support and feel supported by versus which ones are not and which ones are unhealthy. And because there is so much action in Aquarius all month, I think it gives you a sense of detachment and sort of rationality, and try to communicate about things with that sort of detachment and warmth, but being rational. Yeah, it's interesting because the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is like, hey, new beginnings. But then the eclipse is in the 8th house, and it's saying that you can't completely go at it by yourself. You either first need to clear space by addressing the karmic obligations you have, or you need to figure out who will be that source of support, and maybe even like ask someone you know for money as you start a new pursuit, right? And figure out like where to disengage versus where to connect. A lot of action in Pisces all month as well. And Mercury will go retrograde here from the 26th of February until March 20th. This is your 9th house. This suggests that you are learning, you're connecting with foreigners, you are traveling or planning trips, and maybe opening yourself up to new ideas and new perspectives. As Mercury goes retrograde, you may have to retake some tests, rewrite some documents, revisit some legal matters. If you're waiting for a visa, let's say Mercury goes retrograde and you realize that you got the visa, but your date of birth is incorrect, and so now you need to fix it. Allow more time, allow a lot of time for travel. Don't sort of expect things to go fast and smooth, and be ready to redo some things. Visit my website to book a reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Information is down below. You can also register for my upcoming predictive astrology course. Capture the life by its horns, take advantage, get to know how to predict with transits, annual perfections, and solar returns, and pick up some of my magical creations, the planner or the Venus Cazimi, number 3. If you are a Leo rising, January brought a lot of attention to your work sector during Capricorn season, maybe encourage you to take care of health, see some doctors, and your relationship sector during Aquarius season. So Capricorn was health, Aquarius was relationships. There was a full moon in your 12th house on the 3rd of the month, which suggested some spiritual transformations, insights in therapy, and maybe more rest and a need to balance your heavy workload with peace and tranquility. And on the 26th of the month, Neptune entered Aries, your 9th house, thus beginning a new chapter of growth, learning, traveling, and spiritual inquiry. February begins with a full moon on the 1st of the month in Leo, your 1st house, and you are starting the month with answering the question of, who am I? We've had a new moon here on July 24th, and the full moon on the 1st of February is a culmination of what got started on July 24th. So while your relationship sector is active all month, and we're going to get an eclipse there, and there's a lot of action in relationships, right? Commitment, engagement, marriage, proposals, business collaborations. The month starts off with a focus on you and your health and your body and your goals. And so the full moon encourages you to roar, to speak up, to express what is it that's important to you. And in the process, you may be finishing some, fitness journey, health journey. You're maybe completing an important personal project. You're maybe experiencing changes in your career, in your living situation. Do share if you have a clue on what this might be about. Uranus goes direct in your 10th house of career on February 3rd and begins to exit Taurus. It will leave for good on April 25th, completing the cycle started in 2018. So if you felt like your career was full of ups and downs, and maybe the last few months things felt confusing, like you were restless, but you didn't quite know where to go or what to do, Uranus going direct on the 3rd will be helpful. It is likely to encourage you to tap into your independence and your cleverness and originality and quirkiness, and discover true passions and true interests. And they may involve being more entrepreneurial, doing work that involves AI, astrology, technology, freedom. You're seeking freedom. I have a Leo rising client who has quit her job and has been traveling the world as like a sort of, what is it called? Like, I think it's a nomad, digital nomad, traveling, seeing the world and taking up different projects as she can. So maybe Uranus going direct here will offer you a final and important opportunity to change your work life, to create more freedom, stability, and abundance on an emotional and financial level. On the 13th of the month, the biggest change that transforms the year, in my opinion, is Saturn entering Aries, your 9th house, for 2 years. We've had a preview of this between May 25th and September 1st last year. What was coming up for you? Saturn will also conjoin Neptune on the 20th of the month, and together these two have the power to dissolve and burst some bubbles and maybe bring some challenging realizations, disappointment, disillusionment that involves education, travel, writing, legal matters, maybe some like logistical issues or legislative issues that you realize do not quite work. And it can also encourage you to take action, right? Saturn and Neptune together can be an opportunity to figure out what your dreams are, reinvent yourself, and go full speed ahead to study, to travel, to move, to write, to publish your work, to become like a guru, a teacher, a guide. It should be one thing, but there are definitely new opportunities. This is Saturn-Neptune conjunction has been building up all throughout 2025. So it's not like a brand new energy, especially between that late May and September 1st. You would have been already feeling it as both planets hung out in Aries. The last time it happened in late 80s, and we had a fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of USSR. And the last time Saturn was in Aries would have been between 96 and 99. So if you wanted to just look at that and you were online and grown up enough around then, do reflect on it and think of like how might be this coming up for you again. Saturn and Neptune rule together, Saturn primarily, but Neptune is right next to it, rule our first eclipse of the year on February 17th in Aquarius, in your 7th house of relationships. And so as you are experiencing this sense of disillusionment, maybe with where you live, maybe with what you know, what you do, and exploring new dreams that involve travel and education and guiding others, the solar eclipse highlights your relationship sector. And this is a preview of the upcoming cycle of eclipses that will fully begin in July 2026, late July, and then will continue for 18 months, highlighting bringing major developments in your relationship sector. So I can see both, like maybe you wanting to move and your partner following you, and so your relationship changing because you're moving together, or your life kind of transforming and the relationship adapting to it. Or there can also be a sense that your partner is moving. Maybe they move to Spain to be closer to their family, and you're like, okay, let's go to Spain. And so thus begins a new chapter in relationships and in travel. Maybe there's a business that will educate others, that will guide others. Maybe there's an important contract or agreement that pops into your life, a different sort of partnership that appears. So it's an important eclipse. Pay attention to what this will bring your way. And then Pisces is another busy, hot pot this month because Saturn is there until the 13th, and then Mercury, Venus, the Sun slowly enter, and Mercury goes retrograde between the 26th of February and March 20th. So this activates your sector of shared finances, debts, loans, taxes, inheritance, scholarships, insurance, and especially that Mercury retrograde will be an interesting time to like reevaluate your savings, maybe your Roth IRA, your 401k, pay off some debts, rewrite some contracts, discuss even sharing and give and take dynamics in relationships. Be mindful of your spending around this time and do not like spend recklessly, because sometimes it might catch up with you and extra spendings might arise. For more, visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Get a year ahead reading. It's discounted until the end of January. Info is down below. Sign up for my predictive course, begins in March, and it will teach you how to forecast the future with the use of powerful techniques. I also highly, highly recommend my creations such as the planner for 2026 and my Venus Cazimi 3 candle. Only a few of these remain. If you are a Virgo rising, January brought opportunities to date, create, spend time with kids, or be more playful and childlike during Capricorn season. Your health and your work life were activated with the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars entering Aquarius. You maybe realize that you need to exercise more, eat better, had opportunities to like declutter your space and make some tangible changes. The full moon in Cancer early in the month brought transformations to your friendships and social relationships. And finally, Neptune entered Aries later on, encouraging both soulful and soul-merging alliances, investments, and maybe a need to be more discerning in regards to finances and sharing. February starts off the first of the month with a full moon in Leo, your 12th house. It completes the chapter started with the new moon in Leo on July 24th, 2025, and offers you a chance to take a step back, retreat, focus on your mental health. The month is heavy with Aquarius transits, and there's a lot of focus on maybe public rights and unions and work and health. But the full moon at the start of the month is your opportunity to be like, whatever, I'm taking a vacation, or I'm gonna, and it's on a Sunday too, right? So like I'm gonna go do my hair and take a nap. So there's like, the full moon really allows you to feel truly special. And I think 12th house is sometimes harder to embody. So you're getting this chance to be like, I am special, I deserve this. And so changes that allow you to rest more, opportunities to get away, opportunities to go on a trip, opportunities to meditate, do yoga, do therapy, and breakthroughs involving those things are quite likely early in the month. As Uranus goes direct on the 3rd of February and begins to exit Taurus, it will leave fully on April 25th, and it will complete the cycle started in 2018. Expect more forward momentum in regards to education, travel, writing, legal matters. Even maybe like a clearer sense of your beliefs and where you're going and what your kind of mission is, because Uranus has been retrograde and you maybe felt restless, or you maybe dealt with a lot of like inner questioning, and now as Uranus goes direct, you're actually ready to like sign up for classes and start a new job or move to a new place. The sun is starting to light my face in random ways. Oh, so yeah, pay attention to that, especially if your Virgo ascendant is between 27 degrees Virgo and 29 degrees. February 13th, Saturn enters Aries. This, in my opinion, is the transit that changes everything in 2026. And Saturn will be here for 2 years. It last was in Aries between 96 and 99. So reflect on that to see how that period affected you, especially if you were old enough at that point. Saturn will conjoin Neptune on the 20th of the month. We've had a preview of this conjunction, as well as the preview of Saturn in Aries between late May and September 1st, 2025. What was that like? Reflect on it, let me know. But they conjoin in your 8th house, and there may be a sense of disillusionment, dissatisfaction, bubbles bursting in regards to joint finances, and even in regards to relationships. You're maybe realizing that something isn't fair, that you're carrying a heavy burden, that your partner is not appreciating you. On the other hand, this can also be a sign that you're maybe taking on a burden out of love and you're maybe committing to something. Saturn being in your 8th house for the next 2 years is a big transit for sure. I think it's a sign that you'll be, on one hand, maybe dealing with certain karmic debts and obligations that will make you feel like you can't be fully free. Let's say your mother is getting older and you're paying for her nurse, and it's like not an obligation you can shake off, right? But for others, it may be an obligation of like a marriage that has outlived itself and it's time to move on, but you're holding back. Saturn can also suggest that you'll be relying on other people for certain reassurance and support and finances. And so karma around relationships becomes very prominent for you starting February 13th. What's interesting is Saturn here in this new sign now rules the solar eclipse, our first eclipse of the year in Aquarius in your 6th house on February 17th. This is a preview of the next year and a half. We will fully have North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo from July 26th this year. And it brings new beginnings to your work sector. As the Saturn and Neptune are in your 8th house, right? So I feel like it's like the eclipse encourages you to do work that is more socially minded, that is more helpful to others, that involve health and healing and maybe astrology and spirituality. Join my predictive course, lovely Virgo risings, or wait for my natal astrology course, which will begin in September. However, the Saturn conjunct Neptune suggests that you are tied to something or someone. You are, maybe finances are a little bit heavy right now. Maybe you're taking care of someone or something. And so how can you balance it out? How can you figure out a way to have freedom while still taking care of the obligations you have? A lot of big questions are going to come up in February. And yeah, do let me know if you remember what was like the period of June, July, August 2025 about, because that would have been your preview. From the 6th of the month, and actually even until the entire month, right? Because Saturn is in Pisces until the 13th, Mercury enters Pisces on the 6th, Venus on the 10th, Sun on the 18th. Your 7th house of relationships is busy, 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 busy. And you're, especially between the 10th and the 6th, the 10th of February, 6th of March, Venus is here and she blesses you with ease and harmony in relationships. You're spiritual, forgiving, better at attracting people, very much better at understanding others. Mercury being here from the 6th of February until April 14th and going retrograde on the 26th of February until March 20th is a tricky one. And it may suggest miscommunications and misunderstandings. And it may suggest that if you're single, you're over-idealizing like a new crush, or you're not seeing things fully clearly. So beware of that, especially during the retrograde, because it can bring someone from your past into your life. It can bring old fights into your life, and the clarity is going to be hard to find. I would really recommend my Mercury in Virgo candle for you guys because you're a Virgo rising. It's always a good fit. The retrograde is likely to muddy and confuse your relationship life. So definitely pick up Mercury in Virgo or Mercury in Gemini, Mercury Kazemi. Any Mercury candle is great for this period. And yeah, watch out for misunderstandings and confusion and try to be grounded and mindful. Visit my website for the candles. This is the latest Venus Kazemi 3, selling out really fast. It captures Venus conjunct the Sun and was created on the 5th of January. Really good for love, harmony in relationships, and creative inspiration. On my website, you can also book a reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of the month. Info is down below. And you can register for my upcoming course, of course. For my beautiful Libra rising, January brought a lot of action to your home, family, and real estate. You maybe bought a property, sold a home, redesigned, redecorated, moved during Capricorn season. Aquarius season encouraged you to have fun, go out, date, create, have babies. The full moon in Cancer early in the month heralded professional shifts, and Neptune entered Aries, your 7th house, on January 26th for 13 years, inspiring spiritual connections, but also possibly confusing your love life or confusing your partner in the process a little bit. February starts off with a full moon in Leo, your 11th house, on February 1st. And this completes the chapter started with the new moon in Leo on July 24th, 2025. It shines the spotlight on your house of friendships, networks, social media, hopes and dreams, and really encourages you to speak up. I think I see this as like a chance to roar. Also maybe a chance to celebrate how much work you're putting into things and your celebrité and your ability to be known and seen, and like, you know, just sort of acknowledging how far you've come. You may also be experiencing changes in friendships. A friend can be going through a more difficult time, or just having important conversations with you. Maybe your social life is transforming, because you got to think of the full moon as always the opposite the sun, right? In the 5th house. And so the sun in the 5th house is suggesting that you're focusing on parenthood and pleasure and fun. And the full moon in the 10th is a sign that your friendships need to respect that, or your hopes and dreams need to align with that. So some sort of balancing will be happening early on. And it may be the time that you say goodbye to an old friend who's not respecting your new relationship or something, or you let go of a social engagement that is just feeling draining and not supporting you, or even complete a project to open space for new dreams. Uranus goes direct in Taurus, your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, death, and rebirth, on the 3rd of the month, and begins to exit Taurus for good. It's going to leave on April 25th, and it's been in your 8th house since 2018. And I know from your comments that a lot of you, myself included, have dealt with death and changes in the finances and transformations of relationships, and maybe a lack of stability financially and otherwise. And Uranus going direct, moving out of Taurus, is such a positive sign for that. Even within the next couple of months, as it's traveling direct, it will become easier to know what makes you stand apart. It will be easier to advocate for yourself, which can be hard for us Libra risings, because we're so focused on getting along with others and making the world a prettier place, right? It's hard sometimes to be like, this is what I want. So figuring out maybe good financial decisions, starting partnerships, ending relationships that are not healthy, I can absolutely see. And that is even stronger emphasized by the fact that Saturn enters Aries, your 7th house, for 2 years on the 13th of the month and conjoins Neptune on the 20th. This is a big one. Your relationship houses are very, very active this month, with Aquarius season highlighting your 5th house and Saturn highlighting your 7th house. So there's a lot going on. And Saturn in the 7th, conjunct Neptune, we've had a preview of this, right? It's exact on the 20th of the month, active like 3 weeks on each side, very, very strong. But it's been building up throughout 2025. Saturn and Neptune were close in Pisces. They were in Aries between May 25th and September 1st. That is the preview. That is the period to look back at to see what is this about. And do share, because as a Libra rising myself, I want to know, how did this show up in your life? So if this was a tricky period in your romantic life, in your partner's life, Saturn coming together with Neptune right now can bring a disillusionment. It can burst a bubble if you were idealizing someone or something. A romantic partner, a business partner, even like a business contract and agreement. Other people may act confusing. I had a situation, I'm moving in with my fiance, so it's very much 4th house, January. And my landlord was trying to dispute the fact that I paid last month rent when I moved in, because he bought the building from someone else. So it makes sense that he wouldn't be clear on it. But his answer was like, well, can you pay the rent anyways and I'll send it back to you? And I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, why? If this is my money, if you acknowledge it's my money, why am I supposed to pay it so then you pay it back? So people may be confusing. So yeah, some kind of sense of like disillusionment, having to be realistic and reasonable. And it's a big shift. Saturn will be here for 2 years. Saturn last was here between 96 and 99. So if you remember, if you were a grown-up back then, do share. It could be really helpful to know how this showed up. It's not going to be exactly the same, but it can suggest both a dissolving of a union, a dissolution of a relationship, and it can symbolize something new, right? It's 0 degrees Aries. It can mean commitment. It can mean a new person coming into your life. It can mean an engagement. It can mean a business partnership. Relationships of all kinds are changing. And as that is going on, we get the solar eclipse in Aquarius that is ruled by Saturn that has just entered Aries. How intertwined all of it is, right? Isn't it crazy? I think it's kind of crazy. So Saturn has entered your 7th house of relationships to pressure test your alliances, to pressure test your partnerships, to maybe bring new beginnings, commitment, opportunities to say no to something and to say yes to something else. And we get a solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th in your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and children. And 2 things I'm thinking here, right? If it is a dissolution of a marriage or a relationship, the solar eclipse in Aquarius is, okay, it's getting dissolved. What are we doing in regards to our children? What's happening with the next relationship? How do I approach sex and love if I'm starting to date again after not dating for a while, right? Or if it is commitment and new relationship, then it's like, well, maybe we're trying to get pregnant, or maybe we are, I don't know, experimenting in the bedroom or something. The solar eclipse in Aquarius on the 17th of the month is a preview of the cycle that will fully begin on the 26th of July when North Node enters Aquarius and South Node enters Leo, and then it will last for 18 months. The last time we had this would have been 2008, 2009. What was your life like? There's also some opportunity to come into your own and to become more truthful to yourself, and maybe in the process alienate some people who don't agree with your love of astrology, for example, as you begin to study it with me in March. Join my course. Last but not least, Pisces season begins on the 18th. Venus is in Pisces between the 10th of February and March 6th. And Mercury is here most of the month from the 6th and all the way until April 14th. Mercury goes retrograde on the 26th of February and will be retrograde until March 20th. And that might suggest that you're like rethinking your health, your work, your routines. You're having to redo some projects that maybe you, I don't know, build a closet yourself and it breaks and you have to fix it up. Certain work matters may need to be reviewed. Even like relationships with colleagues may require another look and another sort of glance over. It's a great time to declutter. It's also a great time to revisit any like doctor's appointments and see doctors, make doctor's appointments. Visit my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, to book your personal reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Information is down below. You can also register for my predictive course and pick up one of these while they last. This is Venus Cazimi 3. A very small batch, and more than half of them is already gone. So get yours and create more ease, harmony, and beauty in your life. If you are a Scorpio rising, January brought a lot of attention to your communication, your skills, hobbies. You may have taken some exams, spent time in the neighborhood, and connected with your community during Capricorn season. And then Aquarius season activated your 4th house of home, family, property, and living situation. And you may have made some home improvements, spent more time with family, and looked into moving. The full moon in Cancer on January 3rd brought change involving travel, legal matters, visas, applications, and studies. And Neptune entered Aries, your 6th house, on January 26th to stay for 13 years, encouraging reinvention and new pursuits in regards to work, health, and service. Potentially also inspiring you to volunteer at an animal shelter and to do work that involves healing others. February starts off with a full moon in Leo on the 1st of the month. This completes the professional chapter started in late July when we had a new moon in Leo in 2025, and offers you opportunities to ask for what you want and what you deserve. It's really about speaking about how great you are and how talented you are, and perhaps getting recognition. So you may see rewards professionally, changes professionally, leaving one job, starting another job that is more rewarding, right? Especially with all the 6th house transits. There may be a change in status where you get a promotion, or you're even taking on some kind of like public pursuit, join board of tennis players, I don't know, something like that. Some kind of transformation and opportunity to connect with what you want and what you seek and what you desire professionally. Maybe you're quitting your job to spend more time at home. That will be very personal. Do let me know if you know what that is. Uranus stations direct on the 3rd of February in your 7th house of relationships. And on April 25th, it's going to leave Taurus, your 7th house, for good, completing the shakeup cycle that began in 2018. So if your relationships were unstable, if they were destabilized by this transit, if there was a lot of ups and downs, maybe you struggled to find a solid partner, Uranus leaving your 7th house will bring stability, and it will bring more security, and it will help you figure out relationship confusion if there was any. If you dealt with your partner maybe struggling with something and feeling restless, and you being unsure about the next chapter of the relationship, Uranus turning direct will make it easier to create outward change instead of being stuck in your head and your mind trying to resolve issues and figure things out. So it's a positive shift, and it's a final 3 months of Uranus in Taurus. How exciting. On the 13th of February, Saturn enters Aries, your 6th house, for 2 years and conjoins Neptune on the 20th of the month. This transit colors not just the entire month, but the entire year. And that is why I call this video Everything Changes, because they conjoin in 0 degrees in your 6th house of work and health and service. And it's a powerful opportunity for reinvention. We've had a preview of this in 2025 between late May and September 1st, what was happening with your health, with your work, with your even pursuits, otherwise, passions. And we've had Saturn in Aries prior to that for a long time, between 96 and 99. So if you were grown up, if you remember what was happening back then, reflect on that period. Saturn and Neptune together is twofold, right? It can dissolve things and it can burst some bubbles. So professionally, you may realize that you're not quite satisfied and maybe you've been thrown off course and went into direction that no longer aligns with you. It can also encourage new dreams and commitment to those dreams, right? So in the 6th house, we're thinking about physical wellness, exercising, eating better, becoming the warrior, becoming like stronger, right? Like setting the goal that you want to run a marathon and training for it. We're thinking of becoming a healer, becoming maybe an entrepreneur, starting to work for yourself. Like new career ambition, new goals that serve other people and have like a soothing effect on other people. And that might require you to move or to change your home situation, or maybe even connect with, like, create more peace within before you go out there in the world and create peace without. The whole month is busy with planets in Aquarius, and on the 17th of the month, we get the first eclipse of the year, solar eclipse in Aquarius, heralding new beginnings in your home, family, and living situation sector. So maybe you find a job and the job requires you to travel, like you become a traveling nurse, and so your home changes, right? Or you quit your job and decide to focus on your physical wellness, and your family life changes because now you're prioritizing daily walks and you take your child with you, and like everything kind of transforms. Maybe you are also rediscovering what comfort is and what security is, and somehow your goals don't align with your family. So there may also be some kind of like contrarian energy here. This is a preview of the 18 months long cycle that will begin on July 26th when North Node permanently enters Aquarius. And we've had North Node in Aquarius, South Node in Leo in 2008, 2009. So think back on that time and reflect on how has your home life, your family life, even what was happening with your parents, how has that changed during that period? Your romantic house is quite busy all month with planets in Pisces. The whole month, right? Saturn leaves on the 13th, which can maybe bring a little bit more ease in regards to romance. Venus is here in her house Joy between the 10th of the month and March 6th. So there is new opportunities, there's fresh energy, inspiration, creativity, passion. However, I'm sorry I have to do this, but however, Mercury will go retrograde between 26th of February and March 20th in your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children, sex. And this can suggest that you may run into a block. You may need to address like a lack of inspiration. You may need to have honest conversations about sex and pleasure in a relationship. You may have to talk about children and how having children affected your sex life. Let's say you just recently had a baby. You may be discussing childcare, period. Also reflecting on old projects that inspired you, sort of doing some soul searching. Exes might be coming back into your life, and as always, beware, don't give your attention to people who do not deserve you and have proven that they don't deserve you a bunch of times. If you're seeking more, visit my website, book a year ahead reading. It's discounted until the end of January. Information is down below. Register for my predictive course to learn how to forecast the future with annual perfections, transits, and solar returns, and pick up any of my beautiful creations. Venus Cazimi 3 is almost sold out. It captures Venus in her home, not her home sign. She's conjunct the sun. She's in Capricorn. And this is good for you because you're a Scorpio rising, and Venus Cazimi is a rare, benevolent, romantic, and inspiring transit. So get one on my website. If you are a Sagittarius rising, January made you more financially aware with the Capricorn season and the full moon in Cancer, your 8th house. You maybe paid off some debts, got a different salary, maybe even got a different job, got some bonuses and inheritance. Aquarius season encouraged a busier schedule from the mid-month, more opportunities to network, maybe more lovey-dovey messages, inspiration, time spent with siblings, and just sort of more pleasure from exploring your neighborhood. And Neptune entered Aries, your 5th house, on the 26th of January, beginning a 13-year cycle of soulful, yet sometimes confusing romantic relationships. February begins with a full moon in Leo, your 9th house, on February 1st. It completes the chapter that got started on July 24th, 2025, and brings change to your sector of education. You're maybe graduating or maybe completing an enrollment process and starting school. Travel. You're perhaps getting ready to move. Maybe you're finding a job that is more international. Writing, finishing a dissertation, finishing a writing project, legal matters as well. If you're a lawyer, maybe there is some kind of shift to a legal case you've been involved in, or you've been waiting for some kind of visa or document and it might come through. As well as ideological shift is possible. I think the Leo full moon amidst the Aquarius season also kind of like gives you the green light when it comes to speaking about yourself and connecting with yourself. And we need that. We need that sometimes. Uranus stations direct in your 6th house of Taurus on February 3rd and begins its descent out of Taurus. On April 25th, it's going to leave, and it first entered in 2018. So if you've been feeling, especially the last few months, if you've been feeling restless and ready for change professionally, but not yet quite sure what is it you want to do, this could be clarity. This could be a sign of, instead of like inner turmoil and things being shaken up, now you're getting ready to create outward change, right? And so professional opportunities, more freedom professionally, opportunities to use AI, technology, work from maybe, do some kind of unique work that involves healing and health and legal matters and even like working with animals. All of that can come up. Maybe you find a legal job, but it's for PETA or something. The animal organization. On February 13th, Saturn will enter Aries, your 5th house, for 2 years. Saturn conjoins Neptune on the 20th of February, which is a rare once in 38 years transit, and it's been building up throughout 2025, especially strongly between May 25th and September 1st, 2025. What was happening in your love life around then? What was happening in your child's life? What was happening in regards to pregnancy or creative self-expression? This transit is twofold. On one hand, it can bring disappointment, disillusionment, a sense of dissatisfaction with your romantic relationship, or your, even like, I don't know, maybe your child feels dissatisfied with ice skating. They've been doing ice skating. Now your child is like, I don't want to do it. And you're like, but we've invested so much time into it. So there may be some like bubbles bursting romantically, creatively in regards to children. However, it can also be a sign of increased commitment to the fulfillment of your dreams. And if your dream involves parenthood, you're committing to that. You're starting to eat better. You're starting to see doctors maybe, right? You're starting to try to get pregnant. If the dream involves a soulful romantic relationship, then you're maybe doing all you can to find this person or to be with this person. There may also be new interests I can see here, new passions, right? Maybe it's like traveling more or hiking more. 5th house is just so unique. You see people, like I know examples of somebody who like dreamt about getting a boob job, and when there was an eclipse in her 5th house, she did it and she was excited. And I know someone else, another client, she discovered a group of people who were all into like hiking, and she became a hiking instructor, and so that was her 5th house transit. So Saturn here is like new dreams, new passions, new relationships, maybe a little bit of a strain on relationships and making you be more discerning. Like I said, we've had Saturn in Aries. The preview was last summer, but then the prior time it was in Aries between 1996 and 1999, February 99. So reflect on that as well to see what might be coming up for you as Saturn and Neptune begin their work on your 5th house. We also get our first eclipse of the year, the solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th. And this is a new beginning in regards to your skills, in regards to your communication and business. You may feel like you have an important message. You may feel like you want to be more involved with your community. You're maybe realizing how you can help make the world a better place by speaking out, by connecting with other people, by studying, learning. And the ruler is Saturn, that is now conjunct Neptune in your 5th house. So don't be surprised if you suddenly become interested in Reiki healing and you sign up for a Reiki course, or you realize that astrology is where your life taking you and you sign up for my course that begins in March, all about predictive astrology, teaching you how to forecast the future. Anastasia.astrology.com, find it there. But there is some type of awakening happening, and it's new beginning, it's courageous, it's risk-taking, and it's also focused on the world at large and community, because Aquarius is about social justice and fairness, and in your 3rd house it's about speaking up and advocating for something. So I don't know, maybe you find a job that allows you both the freedom to do what you want with Uranus, right, in the 6th house, but also makes a difference. Next, we also have a lot of action all month in Pisces, your 4th house, and it is culminating in Mercury going retrograde on the 26th of February and then being retrograde until March 20th. So you are, I think, in a search for home and foundations for yourself. And Mercury retrograde might suggest that there is some deep questioning you need to do. And maybe go back to the past and figure out, like, what is home, what is comfort. There may also be some negotiation and rewriting, redoing of the home improvement projects, or mortgages, your lease needs to be re-signed. There may be like some kind of review. Even looking at the past, even doing a lot more like introspection in regards to how your family and your childhood impacted your adulthood is possible. And maybe some deep conversations with family members. Visit my website to book your year ahead reading or a relationship reading, whatever your heart desires. It's discounted until the end of January, year ahead one. You can also register for my predictive course on there and pick up my lovely, magical, and almost sold out Venus Cazimi 3 candle. Really good for relationships, and with Uranus heading for your relationship house, you might enjoy it right now. For Capricorn rising, January brought an opportunity to reinvent yourself. During Capricorn season, you experienced relationship changes during the full moon in Cancer, your 7th house, had to deal with financial matters, pay off some debts, negotiate better pay as the sun entered Aquarius, and Neptune went into Aries, your 4th house of home and family, for good on January 26. It will stay there 13 years and encourage more spiritual approach to home and family, but also maybe a little bit of confusion and self-sacrifice. So gotta watch out for that. February begins on the 1st. We have the full moon in Leo, your 8th house. And that suggests a need to review your agreements and contracts and shared finances and resources that you share with other people. This completes the cycle started on July 24th, 2025, when we had a new moon in Leo. Let's say you got a loan back then and now you pay it off. Or you applied for a mortgage and now you're able to use it and buy a property. Or you started a job and now you come back to your boss and you're like, I don't think my salary is accurate for the work that I'm doing. Give me more money. So some type of like transformations, changes when it comes to inheritance, insurance. What else? I feel like I was thinking of something and then it escaped me. Inheritance, insurance, healing. 8th house is connected to like death and birth and any like fears of mortality. Maybe even opportunity to like talk about your fears with someone you love and get closer to them in the process. Money is very much an important topic this month with Aquarius transits as well. Uranus turns direct on February 3rd and begins to exit Taurus, your 5th house, leaving it for good on the 25th of April. It has been here since 2018, potentially shaking up your love life, maybe bringing a lot of creative uncertainty or ups and downs, maybe challenging your relationship with your child or making it a little bit more difficult to get pregnant because Uranus can be destabilizing. As Uranus turns direct and begins to exit Taurus, you can expect more clarity in regards to love, what you want, what you seek, how you present yourself, what you desire romantically and sexually. In regards to creativity, you're becoming more clear on what the story is that you want to tell. And in regards to parenthood, let's say you have been struggling to get pregnant. Maybe Uranus going direct in Taurus is your opportunity to adopt. Maybe you realize that why not adopt a child and help a soul that needs a home. Speaking of the home, on the 13th of February, the biggest change of the whole year potentially, the change that transforms everything, Saturn enters Aries, your 4th house, to stay there for 2 years. And then it conjoins Neptune right away on the 20th of February. We've had a preview of both Saturn and Aries and Saturn-Neptune conjunction in 2025, specifically between May 25th and September 1st. And this is affecting your home, family, and living situation. And so on one hand, Saturn-Neptune can bring disillusionment. It can wash away some fantasies and idealism and reveal that certain, maybe like you've been trying to stay in your childhood home, but all of the other homes have been sold out and turned into like a major, I don't know, amusement park, or just major sky rises have been built and you realize that it's no longer that important or pleasurable to you, and so you decide to move. Or you've been idealizing your family situation, hoping that your mom and your sister will come together and make amends, but you're just feeling dissatisfied and you're like, I'm tired of trying to fix things. And out of that can come also some sense of freedom and opportunity to reinvent yourself, because Saturn and Neptune together can also encourage you to make your dreams a reality. And if your dream involves moving to the seaside or having a happy family, maybe you realize that you don't need to try to make your existing family work. You can build your own family, right? Or yeah, you realize that you want to move somewhere else. There may also be like opportunities to use your property for something good. That might be a bit more rare of a situation, but let's say you own building and you decide to turn it into like an Airbnb or something, or bed and breakfast. Even honestly using your past and your childhood as like a source of inspiration, maybe writing about it and telling the story. Saturn, right now in Aries, rules the first eclipse of the year, the solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th. This eclipse in itself is a preview of an 18-month-long chapter that will begin on July 26th when North Node officially enters Aquarius. And it brings new beginnings to your financial life. For some of you, there may be opportunities to invest into a home, perhaps, with that Saturn-Neptune in the 4th. There may be opportunities to make money through real estate, through maybe quit a job and start doing work that is more spiritual and soulful. There may be a change in your values that shocks other people and surprises your family members, but you're standing by your beliefs. I feel like the solar eclipse in Aquarius in the next couple of years will be very much about like building financial stability, but also doing work that serves other people. So those two will work together. Pisces is a busy house as well all month, with Mercury, Venus, the Sun, and Saturn there until February 13th. Mercury, Venus, and the Sun the rest of the month. And Mercury going retrograde from 26th of February until March 20th. So generally this suggests a busier life, busier schedule, seeing more people, spending more time with siblings, traveling places, learning, teaching, chatting, sending more messages, receiving more messages. As Mercury goes retrograde, there may be some miscommunications that you're going to have to address. You're maybe dealing with literal breakdowns. The car breaks down, you need to take it to the repair shop. Light bulbs break, something else like your computer glitches, so watch out for that, and be mindful in regards to communication, like double check the messages before you're sending them. Otherwise, Mercury here could be a sign of soulful communication, but most likely quite confusing communication. You may be forgetting some quite basic things like responding to text messages from your sister because you get distracted daydreaming. I really recommend my Mercury candles for the upcoming retrograde because retrograde is already complicated for Mercury, and when it's in Pisces, it's in the sign of its fallen detriment, so it's extra tricky. Mercury in Virgo is the best for you because you are Capricorn rising, so Earth and Earth works well. Visit my website to book a year ahead reading. It's discounted. Information is in the description only until the end of January. And you can also sign up for my upcoming predictive astrology course and pick up this beautiful Venus Cazimi 3 candle. I only have a few left. It captures Venus in Capricorn conjunct the Sun. I created it on the 5th of January. So if early January was full of beauty and magic and love for you, get this. If you're born with Venus in Aries, Scorpio, or Virgo, you're Venus retrograde, and just generally because you're a Capricorn rising, and it's perfect for you guys. If you are an Aquarius rising, January could have been a mix of private and introspective during Capricorn season, and a lot more outgoing, especially from the middle of the month as Venus, the Sun, Mercury, and Mars entered Aquarius. Maybe you traveled a little bit or took a break early in the month and then stepped into the light and became more visible later on. The full moon in Cancer on January 3rd brought attention to your work and your health, and Neptune entered Aries, your third house, on January 26th, inspiring new interests, new hobbies, new business opportunities, and maybe new ideas. February begins with a full moon in Leo, your 7th house, on the 1st of the month. This completes the chapter in relationships and partnerships that got started in late July 2025. So July 24th, 2025, and offers opportunities to transform a relationship. Maybe you are, let's say you've had a business partner and you decide to let that go and start a business on your own, or romantically you're experiencing some kind of shift, maybe committing to a relationship, getting engaged, married, moving in together, getting pregnant. There are a lot of possibilities with this transit that can be coming up. It's also, I think, like an interesting opportunity to just like be more playful and fun in your romantic relationship, because there is so much going on in Aquarius and the energy is quite like heavy and serious with Saturn shift coming up. So just have fun in your love life, and even with your friends and people you consider like close partners, allies. Uranus stations direct on February 3rd and brings more clarity to your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. If you felt restless and ready to move or make some home improvements or start a family but didn't quite know what to do, where to go, Uranus going direct will be helpful. And Uranus leaving Taurus on April 25th and completing the chapter started in 2018 should be a big sign of upcoming shift and stability in your home and family. If you've dealt with like a lot of ups and downs and you moved a bunch of times and your family matters weren't very clear, with people fighting and disagreeing, Uranus exiting this house on the 25th of April should be quite a positive shift finally. On February 13th, Saturn enters Aries, your 3rd house, conjoining Neptune on the 20th of the month. We've had a preview of this, especially between May 25 and September 1st, 2025, but really all throughout 2025 as Saturn and Neptune got really, really close together. And what this likely means, there might be two things. On one hand, you may experience a sense of dissatisfaction and disillusionment in your everyday life with your relationships with neighbors, even with your business or pursuits that you're focusing on. Let's say you're working for a corporate job and your everyday life kind of looks the same and your tasks look the same, and so there might be a sense of dissatisfaction with it. On the other hand, Saturn and Neptune can, after that disillusionment has been addressed, they can encourage you to commit to your dreams and to work on making things a reality. So in the third house, we're thinking about new skills, new passions, new studies. If you want to study astrology, join my course. It begins in March. It will be eye-opening and life-changing. And so new pursuits, new ideas, even new professional opportunities perhaps that involve more responsibility. Saturn can be a little bit heavy here. It can suggest that you're dealing with like a heavier workload and you're entering new chapter of your life that will be like mentally busy and overwhelming. So do take good care of yourself. The last time Saturn was in Aries for a long period would have been between 96 and 99. So reflect on that. And yeah, be ready to reinvent what you do for a living and how you spend your everyday life as well, with Saturn and Neptune conjoining at 0 degrees. Saturn and Neptune, Saturn specifically, rule our first eclipse of the year, which happens in Aquarius, your sign, on February 17th, heralding new beginnings in your sense of self. You're focusing on your health, you're focusing on your identity, you're focusing on your personality, you're embracing your quirkiness, you're being unapologetically yourself, and that may show up in a variety of ways. But with Saturn being the ruler, I think you're very much, and conjoining Neptune in the third, you're very much speaking up about what you don't like, maybe changing your relationships with siblings, and you're speaking up about what you want, maybe changing your everyday life in the process. You're owning your skills, you're focusing on starting a business, you're focusing on changing your life in a variety of ways. Do share if you know what this is about. The last time we've had this eclipse series, which will begin fully in July 26, when North Node enters Aquarius, South Node enters Leo, was in 2008, 2009. So reflect on that. It's very deeply personally important cycle for you, both for your personal life and for your relationships, because that's what's going to be active for a while. And then to make things more fun, Mercury goes retrograde on the 26th of February and until March 20th, makes you rethink, redo, rethink, redo, rewrite matters involving money and values. So financially, right, maybe you make some money and then you have to spend this money. So watch out for making reckless purchases and spendings. Priorities might change. You may be revisiting your salary conversation, rethinking your 401k, Roth IRA, figuring out ways to create more financial stability. There may be confusion here. Mercury is in its fallen detriment in Pisces, so that's already difficult, and then it's retrograde on top of that. So it might be harder to know what's going on financially. My candle of choice for the retrograde is Mercury in Gemini, for you especially, because you are an Aquarius rising, and Mercury in Gemini falls in your 5th house and harmoniously aspects your Aquarius rising. Visit my website to get that candle. Book a reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Information is down below. And register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March. If you are a Pisces rising, January potentially brought opportunities to socialize, network, and connect with friends. Explore new dreams, maybe show your ambition by being active socially. And it could also encourage changes involving relationships, partnerships, children, pleasure with Capricorn season and full moon in Cancer. The second half of the month encouraged you to retreat and go on vacations, rest a little, be more private and insular in the way you handle things during Aquarius season. And Neptune entered Aries, your second house of money and values, on January 26th. It will be here for 13 years. potentially creating some confusion in regards to money, but also maybe bringing spiritual interests and inspiration when it comes to how you make money. So February starts off with a full moon in Leo, your 6th house, on the 1st of the month, and encourages change and rethinking and prioritizing of your health, work, time spent with pets, service to other people. We've had a new moon here on July 24th, 2025. You may have started a new job. You may have started working on bettering your health. There could have been some kind of transformation in regards to self-care. And so the full moon in Leo is your opportunity to prioritize you and to speak up like, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is how I want to handle paying the bills and doing laundry and taking care of groceries. It could be very mundane, but it's Leo, it's solar, it's bright, it's about oneself. So don't hesitate to speak up and ask for what you want, because that will also likely encourage open channels of communication and more understanding in relationships. Uranus goes direct on February 3rd in your 3rd house, bringing more mental clarity. If you've been feeling unsure of the next direction you want to take, unsure of how much you know, having some ideas, but not knowing which ones are good in regards to writing or business ideas, Uranus going direct should bring clarity and forward momentum. The good news is it's about to leave Taurus on April 25th, and it's been there since since 2018. I'm not sure actually which month, but it's been there since 2018. And so it likely have transformed your way of thinking and your everyday life, and maybe encouraged some shakeups into your life, shakeups that ultimately created more stability. So this is the final opportunity to shake your everyday life, to shake off outdated beliefs, to prioritize believing in yourself, speaking from the heart, and creating stability in your life. On the 13th of the month, the transit that changes everything this year is Saturn entering Aries, your 2nd house. It will stay there until April 2028, and it will conjoin Neptune right away on the 20th of February. We've had a preview of this between May 25th, 2025 and September 1st. Do me a favor, look back at what was happening in your life, especially in regards to finances, values, maybe your work. This transit, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, is very rare. It happens once every 38 years. I'm like, all these numbers. Once every 38 years. The last time was late 80s, and it was the fall of the Berlin Wall. It was the dissolution of USSR. So it has the power to wash away boundaries, but also bring disillusionment, right? Like USSR falling apart didn't come from like a good place. It came from the place of countries that were a part of it realizing that it's not really what they thought it was. At least that's what I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so having it in your 2nd house may bring dissatisfaction with how you make money. It can bring confusion at first, and that's okay, because you're not meant to have all the answers right away, especially as we're like at that point already in the eclipse season. But there may be a sense of dissatisfaction, a sense of realizing that you can't keep pushing yourself as hard as you're pushing yourself, or you maybe need a job that allows you more freedom. At the same time, it can also inspire you to make money through creative pursuits, through spiritual pursuits, through socially aware pursuits that make the world a better place. We've had Saturn in Aries as well between 96 and 99. If you remember what was happening in your life in regards to money and values back then, do share. Saturn rules the first eclipse of the month. The solar eclipse in Aries on February 17th brings new beginnings to your 12th house, which suggests spiritual interests, imaginative, creative work. It suggests focus on your mental health. It suggests less of a grind and more of a restful existence. And so it's tied together, right? If you are quitting your job because you're dissatisfied and you need a break, Maybe Saturn in Aries will be a sign that your finances will be tight for a little bit. If you are going for spiritual work, then maybe you need to be more serious about how you allocate your finances, so you allow yourself some freedom to not have a steady income for a while. So there is an interesting shift, and the solar eclipse in Aquarius is a preview of the next year-and-a-half cycle that will fully begin on July 26th, when North Node enters Aquarius, South Node enters Leo, and previously we've had the same exact cycle in 2008, 2009. And oftentimes it is really a time when people shift from work that is heavy, labor-intensive, difficult, and feels like a grind, to something that's more spiritual, soulful, freeing, imaginative, right? So Saturn and Neptune in the second, dissatisfaction or new dreams. Solar eclipse in the 12th, opportunity to let something go, and then perhaps the consequences will be tricky, but you'll make it through. I know it, my beautiful Pisces rising. And so Saturn leaves your first house on the 13th. Exciting, hooray, right? Yes, it's going in your house of money, but it's no longer beating you up. It's no longer affecting your health. It's no longer like lowering your vitality and optimism. As Saturn leaves, Mercury comes into your first house on the 6th of February. We'll be there for 2 months, encouraging you to speak about yourself, to talk faster, to learn about yourself. Venus is here between the 10th of February and March 6th. Really beautiful, a sign of you being more charming, more attractive, more imaginative, inspired. Others are more generous with you. And the Sun is here from February 18th until March 20, which will give you vitality and boost your energy, and will offer opportunities to step into the spotlight and be more visible. However, there is one however. I mean, there's a lot of howevers, but this one is connected to Mercury going retrograde on the 26th of February. And Mercury is in the sign of its detriment and fall in Pisces, and when it's retrograde, it's kind of hard for it. So I highly recommend my Mercury in Virgo candles for you guys. So it's retrograde from the 26th until March 20, and it suggests the need to rethink your health, your appearance. You're maybe rethinking your skincare, your hairstyle, your wardrobe. You're maybe going through a bit of an identity crisis, not being sure who you are. And that's why I'm saying it's okay if the answers are not coming to you yet. But I think the upcoming eclipse series in the 12th house is a sign that you're going to go in a brand new direction. And that may involve moving as well. So use the retrograde to kind of stand still and journal, and maybe reflect on what used to make you happy when you were a child. Sorry, I did something to the skin on my finger, so I was like, no, it's fine. But yeah, think back on who you thought you were when you were little, and maybe figure out, think of how your life went into directions that maybe weren't purposeful, and how you can bring yourself back. Because the retrograde period, while the planet is moving backwards, it's actually moving in the same direction as the ascendant is moving. So there is a whole difference between diurnal motions, and so it's moving closer to the heart of the sun, right? The Mercury separates from the sun, and then it retrogrades towards the heart of the sun. So you're getting kind of to the heart of who you are and your life and your future. If you want to work with me personally, register for my upcoming predictive course. You won't regret it. It's awesome to know how to use astrology to forecast your future. It gives you an ability to be in the driver's seat instead of being just a passenger in the crazy car of life. You can book a reading. Year ahead is discounted until the end of January. Information is in the description, and highly recommend either Mercury in Virgo or this beautiful Venus Cazimi 3 candle. These are almost sold out. It was a very small batch that I made in early January. Thank you guys for watching. Please show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing. Say thank you by leaving me a tip. All of that is appreciated. Share this video with somebody you know. This is also really great because YouTube relies on it to see how this video is performing. And sometimes it's quite complicated to deal with the algorithm. So your support means the world. And thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Have a happy February.